Hi, welcome to the Gear Garage. I'm Zach. This is my little internet show about whitewater things. And recently somebody asked me to do a show about my job, like what I do, what it's about. So I thought I would just quickly talk a little bit about my history and what I do for a living. And so I own a rafting company, Northwest Rafting Company. My title, I guess, would be outfitter. I think it's a pretty cool title, so I go with that. And for me, I was a teacher. I taught high school and then community college before doing this. And that I did those jobs so that I can have my summers free to guide. I love guiding. It's just something I love doing. I love rivers in general, but I also love sharing with people. And while I was doing that, the owners of the company I worked for, Echo, asked me to leave teaching, learn the business from them, and then buy their business. So I think it's like 2004, I quit my community college job, moved to Oakland, California, and spent 2 years learning from them. And they're amazing men, amazing mentors, and I learned a ton in those 2 years of being in Oakland. And from there, they said, hey, we're retired. I moved their business to Hood River, where I live now, and eventually was able to buy parts of it and form my company, Northwest Rafting Company. And it's a really interesting job that I have. I think, a lot of times when I was guiding, I'm like, oh, I want to be an owner someday so I can like be cool and make the decisions. And, it just seemed like a very cool thing to do. And it is, and I love doing it. But it's very different than I expected. First of all, I don't anymore think of I have people who work for me. I certainly feel like I work for my guides, and I hope they think that too. You'd have to ask one of them to be sure, but my job is to support them in the job that they do. So I'm trying my best to ask them what they need and constantly provide the support that they need. And I also work for our customers. I so value the fact that we have good, loyal customers, and my job is to continually work to provide the trip that they want. And so I very much feel like I work for my guides and my customers. And that might sound like kind of hooey, but it's absolutely true, and I think pretty critical. Next is, a lot of my job, in people thinking about playing rivers all the time, and I wish that was the case, but a lot of it is just being in the office doing things. Like, for example, I'm the IT guy. If we lose a password, if the internet goes down, if somebody's mail program's glitchy, I'm the one that ends up fixing that. And I can't afford to hire an IT person to come in, and we don't have time a lot of times. So I've gotten really good at IT, and I understand our whole network at the office, so I can fix problems. I also work on our insurance, which is tricky, or on our permits, which are have huge deadlines and are challenging. For me, I didn't come into this with a ton of money, so I have to run this like a very tight business, and I do all the bookkeeping, and that allows me to keep an eye on expenses and kind of know what's going on. So I'm entering every credit card charge. I write every check, I sign every check to make sure I have an idea of where money's going back and forth. And I also do payroll, and I know I could probably send those things out to the people, but I really have to have an eye on those things because this is kind of a low margin business, and I have to do it right. I don't have money in the bank where if I make a mistake, I can just solve it. So it's really important to me to do all the payroll and bookkeeping, and a lot of the hiring. When I started, I did most of the hiring. Now Michael, who I work with, he does most of it, but I definitely get involved because hiring is key. A big part of my job is gear. I want gear that lasts a long time, and so I'm fixing things all the time. Here's a project. I'm in my gear garage right now. This is the gear garage where I fix a lot of our gear, and it's just full of stuff right now. My project today is to fix this groover tent. We have this tent that goes over our groover. The poles, as you can see, came apart last summer, and so I have to go through and string this back together today. And then the tent itself, has a few holes. I'll take it down to have it sewn. I'll put new guy lines on it. So projects I'll work on are like this thing that sits over one of our groovers in the summer. And so I do a lot of work on gear like this, for example. And if you saw, there's stuff everywhere I'm constantly fixing. And a huge part of the job is sales and marketing, and just really marketing. And I basically spend a lot of time trying to figure out Google AdWords, working on social, search engine optimization, writing email newsletters, and I do a lot of job just doing outreach for a company, or I do a lot of work doing outreach so that we can have a continued customer base. And so, like I said, a huge part of what I do is marketing. There's a bunch more things. Those are just the things that come to mind today. And the benefit of being an outfitter is that you own a business, and that you in the good years you do really well. The downside is you own a business, and so in the bad years, like now, you don't do so well. And so it's sort of like an up and down thing. You're taking the risk. Again, like if things are awesome financially, you do awesome. If things are bad, you take a few punches, and hopefully it averages out over the years. You're also attached to it. You can't take a year off. Maybe you can. It's really hard. A life goal of mine is to hike the John Muir Trail. We do trips in the summer. I'm not sure how I'll ever do that because I can't just take a summer off. Or I want to do the Pacific Crest Trail as well. Again, I can't take 7 months away from my business. I'm very attached to it. I can take some vacations here and there, but I work for this business basically forever, or until I can find somebody else to run it, which seems crazy. But the good side is it's flexible. So I can show up, if I want to show up to noon, work at noon, I can. If I want to take a week off here and there, I can. Within reason, I have a lot of flexibility in my job. When I was a teacher, I had to be there at 7:45. I got off work at 3:30. A lot of times I had after school programs. I got off work at 5. I had to be at work at certain times. The nice thing is I can work, if I want to, I can start work at 5 p.m. to midnight a lot of the time. So I have a lot of flexibility, and I control my destiny. Whatever I put into it is what comes out of it. And so my hard work and my dedication pays off, which is pretty cool. Or like I can't be fired by somebody else or like laid off by somebody else. That only happens if I'm actually incompetent and things fall apart. So there's a lot of good and bad, a lot of responsibility with this job because I'm so tied to it. And one thing, people wonder about is they think that I'm always guiding all the time, having fun. But it's not always like that. When I go guide, which is my thing I love to do, I have a lot of added responsibility I never would have thought of. As a guide or trip leader on a trip, especially a multi-day, you have a lot of responsibilities. And on top of that, I'm also an employer to the other guides. So on top of being a guide or trip leader on a trip, guides may come to me with some sort of employment issue that they're having, or an issue they're having throughout the summer with anything, or even a personal thing. So I end up having to sometimes, on top of my guiding time, work on other things with my employees, which I don't mind doing. It's just extra work. And I also have higher expectations from the guests. I can't, if I'm having kind of a rough day or rough week, I can't kind of hide in the corner sometimes and just work in the background. I definitely have to be front and center. And as personally, so I'm introverted. You may or may not know that, but I need time to myself. And so if I've worked all day, been around people all day, I need to find time to myself. I have to manage that really well because I'm expected to be back on. And I certainly enjoy it. I certainly enjoy talking to the guides. I certainly enjoy getting to know all the guests. But I have to manage a lot of things at once beyond just being a guide on a trip. And it's not easy. It's a lot of work. And at first it was really hard for me. I really struggled with all the added responsibility. And after doing it for a few years, I've definitely grown into it. I found that I really, really enjoy that. So on trips, it's certainly pretty interesting. But overall, this is something I love doing and something I expect to keep doing. And one unexpected part that I truly love about it is I truly love the other outfitters. I have so many great friends who own companies or manage companies, basically my peers. I found just a great many friendships, and the time we get to work together on things, we're members of associations, we get together and share stories, and I've met some truly remarkable people. And I think that's a real amazing part of the job, the other people that do the same job that I get to share time with. So that's all I can think of. It's a really unique job. I'm sure I didn't go into every detail there. I just kind of gave you my thoughts on it. But it's not something that I would categorize in any normal type of job, but something I feel very lucky to fall into, and something I really enjoy. And I think that means a lot to me. So if you have questions, leave them in the comments below. If you have comments, please do. And yeah, see you in the next episode. Thanks.